Maha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swa Padantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sajajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahita Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitam Cha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Iti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvisesha Sunyavari Paschachade Satarane Vanchakalpa Chubhischa Kripa Sindhu Vyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namani Gora Tvishe Namaha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripi. So I think a little devotees know me a little bit. I've just been joined the Hare Krishna in 1971. And after Prabhupada's departure, I went to India and then to Fiji. And from then I started more or less traveling all over the place. I was in Japan for many years. Now, not traveling so much because of the restrictions, but working in Japan, China, Indonesia, Thailand, West Africa, Israel, Greece, and countries like that. And now I've been in New York for a few months, just trying to take part in the Harinam Sankirtan, which I feel is the driving force of what's happening in New York. All kinds of nice things are happening in the different centers, but this Ram Roy's party has, been steady all along, no matter what was going on. So now I'm giving a lot of classes online. So thank everybody. Thank you for having me. I'll try to make it over there again sometime. We're on 9th Canto, chapter 16, text number 30. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Bhakti Jason. All right. And Fadi Purush is there. Of course, Prabhupada. So, Putram, I just chanted, or did we have repeating? Putram Kritva Sunakshepam Devaratam Chabhargavan Ajigartam Sutam Aha Jesta Esha Prakalpyatam Putram Kritva Sunakshepam Devaratam Chabhargavan Ajigartam Sutanaha Jesta Esha Prakalpyatam Putram Kritva Sunakshepam Devaratam Chabhargavam Ajigartam Sutamaha Jesta Esha Prakalpyatam. synonyms is putram, a son, kritva, accepting, shunak shepam, whose name was Suna Shepa, Devarata, whose life was saved by the demigods, Cha also, Bhargavam, born in the Bhrigu dynasty, Ajigartam, the son of Ajigarta, Sutan, to his own sons, Aha, ordered, Jeshta, the eldest, Esha, Sunak Shepa, Prakalpyatam, except as such. Translation. Vishwamitra accepted the son of Ajigarta, known as Shuna Chepa, who was born in the Bhrigu dynasty and was also known as Deva Rata, as one of his own sons. Vishwamitra ordered his other sons to accept Shunak Shepa as their eldest brother. So there's no purport on that one. These are interesting family histories. And if we don't, we have to understand they're all connected to Krishna. That's why they're in there. That's why they have value, because it's all leading up to the appearance of Krishna. So I might have to read a few more to find a purport. Yovoi Harishchandra Make Vikrita Purusha Pashu Shutwa Devan Prajeshadin Mamuche Pasha Bandhanat. Sunakshepa's father sold Sunakshepa to be sacrificed as a man animal in the yagya of King Harishchandra. When Sunakshepa was brought into the sacrificial fire, he prayed to the demigods for release and was released by their mercy. So here we have a purport. Here is a description of Sunakshepa. When Harishchandra was to sacrifice his son Rohita, Rohita arranged to save his own life by purchasing Sunakshepa from Sunakshepa's father to be sacrificed in the yagya. Sunakshepa was sold to Maharaj Harishchandra because he was a middle son between the oldest and the youngest. It appears that the sacrifice of a man and an animal in the yagya has been practiced for a long time. These are very difficult. I remember one time, maybe with almost these same verses, Radhanath Swami, and he said, you know, I always get these classes where they're sacrificing a man. So that's not, of course, in Kali Yuga, no way, but there were supposedly in South America and Mexico, these things went on not so long ago. And there was in some dacoits, I think it was, they kidnapped Jad Bharat, or no, was it Rishabdev, and they were going to sacrifice him to Durga, but then Durga broke out from the Murti and with their sword and cut off the heads of all the rascals. So why this is going on, it's too complicated to understand, but now we sacrifice men also, we sacrifice our own life, but sacrifice doesn't have to mean, like generally, when people think of sacrifice, they're thinking of killing. In the Bible, when they talk about a sacrifice, it's always killing some animals. There is such a yagya like that. Sacrifice means, you know, to do something, give up some sort of pleasure for yourself. Maybe if you're mostly Americans, you know, baseball. So sometimes there's a sacrifice. Somebody will let themselves get put out so that someone else can move ahead and things like that. And we are, when we do yagya, that's translated as sacrifice, just offering everything to Krishna. And even in the Bible, the sacrifice was the first crop, first, it gets offered to the temple, not that it all gets killed, but it gets to be used for the pleasure of the Lord. So Prabhupada is saying it appears that this is going on always for some reason. I don't know, there's no explanation of it, like when Lord Chaitanya explained the cow sacrifice to the Kazi, he was saying that it's a revival, the cow gets a new life, or the horse gets a new life. So we don't know for the human it was a similar thing or what is going on. But definitely it's not something we're going to do now. And this story is going back a long ways with Harishchandra and the son. And then this father sold his middle son. Even nowadays in psychology, they say the middle child has trouble. The parents will favor the oldest child, and the youngest one and the middle one sometimes gets ignored or doesn't feel so happy. So that was the case here, that the middle one they sold off, which is definitely not a high class thing to do, but it's been done historically, even still going on. People will sell a daughter, to some not good people to get money to support the rest of the family. I'd like to read another verse and see what we get here so we can keep up with the whole chain. Yo rato deva yajane devar gadishu tapasa deva rata iti kyata sunakshepas tu Bhargava. Although Sunakshepa was born in the Bhargava dynasty, he was greatly advanced in spiritual life. Therefore, the demigods involved in the sacrifice protected him. So he is also celebrated as a descendant of Gadi, named Devarata. Again, no purport. Yo maduch chandaso jeshtaha kushalam menere natat ashapat tan muni krudo mlecha bhavata durjanaha. When requested by their father to accept Sunakshepa as the eldest son, the elder 50 of the Madhu Chandas, the sons of Vishwamrita, did not agree. Therefore, Vishwamrita, being angry, cursed them. May all of you bad sons become malechas, being opposed to the principles of Vedic culture. Purport. In Vedic literature, there are names like Mlecha and Yavana. The mlechas are understood to be those who do not follow the Vedic principles. In former days, the mlechas were fewer, and Vishwamrita Muni cursed his sons to become mlechas. But in the present age, Kali Yuga, there's no need for cursing. People are automatically mlechas. This is only the beginning of Kali Yuga, but at the end of Kali Yuga, the entire population will consist of mlechas because no one will follow the Vedic principles. At that time, the incarnation of Kalki will appear. Mlecha nivaha nidane kalayasike karalavam. He will kill all the mlechas indiscriminately with his sword. Okay, that's something a little bit easier to get hold of. Vishwamrita, even though now he's become so powerful and he still gets angry. We know how he got angry. Previously, he was trying to get the Brahma Rishi power and meditating so austerely, and when Indra sent the beautiful girl and agitate him, he got angry and cursed her, and by that anger he lost the effect of all his previous tapasya and to start over again. But so this is Kali Yuga, and it's in turmoil because Kali means conflict. He's always trying to create quarreling. And at the moment, it's especially evident. So many things inside our movement and outside are creating quarrels, different, like political parties practically. People agree with this, they want this, you don't want that, and you become, even best friends become enemies. This is the work of Kali to weaken everybody, because it's Lord Chaitanya's golden age is also starting, and Kali doesn't like that. So he wants to disunite the forces. That's how he works. So we understand that, yagya, there's so many yagyas, but in Kali Yuga, no yagya will be effective without the Mahayagya, the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. That is the only yagya that's effective. And if we, there was an interview with our Govinda Dasi recently, and she was telling her experience with Prabhupada in the very early days. There were only a few devotees, and she was with Prabhupada a lot. And he was talked for hours and predicting the future and all these, how Kali Yuga is going to be so bad. And we're seeing some of those things happening in some countries. We don't see it, we might hear about it. But even in America, so much madness is going on, especially in America. And when she was asked, what to do, she just kept saying, keep the kirtan going. Kirtan is the only, the difficulty is a Kali Yuga. It's not this party or that party. It's not, the scientists or they're all part of the anti-religious forces. But behind it all is Kali. And the only weapon to defeat Kali, Harinama, Harinama, Harinami, Kevalam, Kalo Nasteva, 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 Gatiranyata. So this, I can't count the number of times because it's like unlimited, where Prabhupada is saying the Sankirtan movement is the only hope for the world. Spreading the holy name, spreading the Prabhupada's books is also the holy name. He said it's also chanting, it's also kirtan, any kind of Krishna katha. And I hope, prasadam distribution, and of course, is extremely important. Prabhupada, many times he said, with people, don't try to preach to them, just give them prasadam. Just give them prasadam, give them, hopefully they can get the holy name, but somehow give prasadam. I was talking to one Mataji at the Sunday feast, and her son is the only one in the school that's vegetarian. So the other kids are asking, what are you eating? What are you eating? And he probably gets a little uptight, and maybe they're interested because it looks good to them. But she was saying, what can I do to, tell these kids to be vegetarian? I said, just, find out all their birthdays. And every time one of them has a birthday, send cakes and cookies to everybody and say, this is for so-and-so's birthday. You don't have to tell them it's Krishna food or anything. And they'll gradually get very attracted and purified and like that, be looking forward to it. Then you can preach to them. You can just make everybody happy. But this is a yagya, Mahayagya, Sankirtan yagya. This is Lord Chaitanya. It's predicted in the Srimad Bhagavatam. It's predicted in the Mahabharata. Hey Manga, Manga, the golden body covered with sandalwood. In the Bhagavatam, you'll be chanting Krishna Varnam, Krishna Tushna, Sango Pangaka Parashadam, and his weapons are his associates. Vishnu always came with weapons. Krishna even had weapons. He had his chakra, he had his bow, he had a club, But Krishna himself, when Krishna was fighting in Vrindavan, no weapons. Just a little baby just knock someone dead or choke him to death, or whatever he could do. He didn't have any weapons. Later, when he was acting as a Kshatriya king, then he had the weapons. But Lord Chaitanya had weapons also, but his associates, Panchatattva, and all his associates, all the kirtan parties, it is his weapons to fight, to push back the Kali Yuga. And we're part of that, armory. Kali is behind all this trouble, and the only thing that can stop Kali is the Sankirtan movement. Kali is very concerned about it. We have actually a few different places in scripture. In one book by Kavichandra, also in the Chaitanya Mangal, there's a conversation with Kali and his associates. Lust, greed, anger, envy, these are his associates, and illicit sex, gambling, intoxication, like his ministers. And he's saying how Lord Chaitanya is going to come and he's going to spread this Sankirtan movement. He's going to spread the chanting of the holy name. And what are we going to do? We're not going to be able to function. We're not going to be able to, spread this Kali Yuga. And one by one, lust, and no, I'll take care of it, and I'll make him so lusty he won't be able to concentrate. And even Kali saying, no, it's not going to work. And then anger says, and then illusion. And so they're in anxiety. So they're pushing very hard. This is the early time of, the golden age of Lord Chaitanya, the 500 years, not even 500 years since it officially started, but since the appearance of Lord Chaitanya, it starts. Previously, Pricket was holding back Kali, but then he was removed by Krishna's will, and Kali just flooded right in there. And now everywhere there's quarreling between husband and wife, between families, between devotees, between, we don't want to mention all the different reasons, but many things are coming forward to divide people on different sides. And devotees have to work together anyway, no matter what our feelings are, and chant the holy name and spread the holy name. If we want to do anything to help the world, to help ourselves, we want to please Prabhupada. And it is going on, but there's so many people never heard of Krishna. So many people have heard of it, they have some taste for it, but they need association. Devotees have to, make themselves available in so many different ways. Online, devotees are reaching out like really amazing. Publicly, we want to go out, we want to look like devotees, we want to do devotional activities, we want to make temples all over the place, thousands and thousands of preaching centers, or whatever. Every home should be a temple. Every devotee should be inviting people into his home one way or another. Now we can do it online, even just, quite a few devotees have thousands of people that they're connecting with. I know if you know our Gauramani Mataji, she's Brajavadu, the Kirtan group, headquartered in Vrindavan. She has something like 2 million followers on Facebook or on something, and she's preaching very straight. and chanting the holy name. So, but that's a drop in the bucket for the total population, you know. If we see like this vaccination, they say they've vaccinated 6 billion people already or something, or 6 billion shots at least have been sold. That's in a short time. Why can't we get that many people chanting? You know, we need to really work at it. We have to really be motivated. It is a, you know, if we want to really gain anything out of our human life, just think, how can we do that? Just look at all the different Maya things that spread so fast. McDonald's, I remember the first McDonald's was a little shop. You just parked your car and went up and then went back to the car to eat. And just a window, and then Starbucks, you know, now there's a Starbucks on every corner, both opposite corners, you know. So in a short time. So why not Hare Krishna? Why not Prabhupada's books everywhere? Why not kirtan parties, temples everywhere, you know, preaching centers, seminars, programs? This is, and prasadam, everywhere prasadam. Many, just like these other demon restaurants, and they're everywhere. They spread like anything. So we have to think, how can we do that? Pray to Krishna. We kept, you know, all these other yajnas we hear about. We certainly don't want to do human sacrifice, but we want to sacrifice our own life for the pleasure of Krishna. Actually taking sannyas, and that means, you know, just dedicating your life to Krishna, whatever your ashram is. It's called social suicide. You know, you lose your social life, you lose your connection with your so-called friends and family many times because you're giving it up, sacrificing it for a higher purpose. You have whatever we have, just it's a sacrifice. Do it for Krishna. Whatever talent you have, whatever money you have, whatever beauty you have, whatever fame and fortune, whatever you have, just sacrifice it for the pleasure of Prabhupada and Lord Chaitanya. And we'll see, you know, if we really examine, there's big things that are happening. Vegetarian is increasing. Like there was no, when I joined the Hare Krishnas, vegetarian was like considered like suicide by doctors. My mother was so worried when I became vegetarian. That was before devotee. And she sent me for a checkup at the doctor. And the doctor said, well, you're all right. And I was like 19 years old or something. And he looked at me very seriously. And he said, you don't eat meat? And I said, no, I don't. And he looked like really bewildered. And he said, maybe you can live. Now I've lived 50 some odd years since then, and pretty good compared to the men in my family and my father, my uncles and my grandfather. I've lived much longer than any of them. And now it's much different. Now there's so many vegetarian restaurants and all over the world. New York, they're everywhere, and vegan and vegetarian. And people are waking up, and health food, Whole Foods, because they have organic. There's the biggest grocery shop in all of New York or something. So, you know, people are, but that's just the beginning. They're a little bit concerned about their body so they can enjoy more sense gratification. We have to give them a higher taste. You know, we have to give them the holy name, to give them the knowledge of Krishna. And people want it very much. I was walking the other day on Fulton Mall, and one boy who was coming up behind me, he said, hey, do you remember me? And I turned around and he said, I remember you from Union Square. And then he said, I'm reading the Bhagavad Gita and I love it. I like it so much. I really love it. Another boy I asked the other day, you know, and he said, I have the Bhagavad Gita. So I said, are you reading? And he said, yes, I'm on page 216. And he started glorifying the Bhagavad Gita, how much he liked it. And he was apologizing because he was a little bit tipsy, and but he understood it. He was trying to get purified, and his girlfriend was dragging him away. But anyway, he's reading Bhagavad Gita very seriously. So many people like that out there. So we have to make ourselves available, whatever we have, and advertise and keep our centers rolling. And that's our yoga. That's the real yoga. All right. So that I hope we have questions or comments. And I'm going to flip it on so I can see everybody's face. Is that Adi Purushna?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, nice to see you. We invite you to come out for prasad distribution. We want to show you some things. I'll give you my phone number through Ram Roy.
Yeah, where do you do it?
Tompkins Square Park. Tompkins Square Park.
Oh, really? Because someone asked.
We'll work it out later. You know, your mention about the idea of sacrifice and how they don't have that now, and then later you clarify that actually it's appropriate. You know, that we should sacrifice something, take on some difficulty, and give ourselves, sacrifice ourselves for Lord Chaitanya's movement. Without that sacrifice, there's no love. And so Krishna is so wonderful that Krishna is so wonderful. We're here to glorify Krishna. Krishna is so wonderful that he does give us opportunity to choose to show our love by saying, Lord, I'm available for you. Use me as you like. And we see that you've sacrificed your life. So many years of book distribution and preaching and kirtan. And so, you know, Krishna loves you so much by that giving yourself to Krishna.
Well, all of you. Don't you also.
Oh, glory to Prabhupada. Prabhupada sacrificed his life, right?
Yeah.
They say Jesus sacrificed for you. He died for you. So we're actually dying, giving up our material desires and preferences to engage in activities that are pleasing to Krishna.
Yeah, and we want everyone to do that.
There's no loss, right?
No, there's only gain.
Bhima, you have something to say, Bhima?
Who?
Bhima? Devotee named Bhima.
Well, Bhima Prabhu is getting ready to speak. Just wanted to appreciate Maharaj and Adipusha Prabhu, how they pulled that verse out of the fire by explaining what this human sacrifice really means in terms of Bhagavatam and how this applies to us today, how we're meant to sacrifice our own life in the service of Krishna and the devotee. Just wanted to appreciate how they interpreted this verse and drove the point back home so nicely. Hare Krishna.
Like many devotees, when they have a child, they go to the temple and they offer their baby to the Krishna. Say, please, let this child, be your servant. I get many householders when they meet a child, they're asking blessings. The child can be a devotee and a big preacher, so they're not attached to, to material gain from their children like so many people. They want to offer to Krishna.
Prabhupada says they want religion without surrender. They want religion without sacrifice. The Christians say they want God, they want Christianity without the cross. Right? There's a famous quote from Martin Luther King about, he said, the cross is something that you carry and eventually you die on it. That's where we're going with this. We really want to give it all. Love means you want to give everything.
Right.
People make so many sacrifices for their children, for the country, for the humanity. But when we serve Krishna, everything else is accomplished.
Yeah.
How wonderful is Krishna?
Right. Give everything to Krishna and there's no loss. Thank you very much. Anyone else? Henry.
Hare Krishna. I'm currently on the road, but I'm listening with an open heart, and I just wanted to say thank you so much for your testimony and beautiful class and your experience, your sharing in regards to you being young and making that decision for yourself, even though sometimes as a when my mother questions something, my heart aches, and I always try to please her, but at times we can't when we know that our heart's true calling is to do something. So thank you so much for your beautiful sharing. And I really appreciate the example that you have set, and yeah, Hare Krishna. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. And then, if you appreciate devotees, you get the same benefit as them. If you appreciate the preachers, you get the same spiritual benefit. Okay. So it's good to see so many coming, and the Bhakti Center, all the temples are starting to open up again and be fully active. So
Sometimes people are a little bit afraid of sacrifice, that it's going to be painful and that I won't get anything. But Krishna says, Masuchaha, do not fear, do not hesitate.
yeah, well, they don't, like I said, they think sacrifice means you're killing, you're going to be homeless after you give, but it just means you make it sacred, and you purify whatever you're doing and utilize it properly. And
It looks like Jamuna Jaya wants to.
okay.
Thank you so much for class. It was really wonderful. This talk of sacrifice and what we're saying, sacrifice, dying while we're living, has made me, just because I'm contemplating the death of someone quite close, it's made me remember what a beautiful sacrifice actually leaving our body could be if we're surrounding ourselves with devotees, and we can do that for others, like chanting holy name when they go and reminding them on their last breath. It's making me think of, I'm sure we all remember the Kavichandra Swami. It doesn't get much better than this. And I was just really thinking something you said earlier, and I can't remember exactly what you said, but really put me in the mind what a beautiful sacrifice that leaving this body behind can be, and how we can make it that for if we have the honor of being with the devotees in their last moments. So thank you.
And we're going to have plenty of chance for that in the near future. And so we're looking for everyone, we want to encourage everyone to do whatever they can, because now we have huge numbers of devotees, and everybody just, give some time for preaching the holy name. It's some tapasya, because most people reject you. But when we try to preach to people, and they're not rejecting me, they're rejecting Krishna. So what can be done? We feel sorry for people, but everybody really wants Krishna. Everybody's looking for the, happiness or pleasure, that's the principle, and Krishna is the reservoir of all pleasure. And any other pleasure they get is just a temporary thing that actually ends up frustrating them.
This part of the Bhagavatam, there's a lot of unusual stories about people that did different kinds of sacrifices for different reasons, and playing around with the whole principle of, yajna. And then it shows us what exactly how these are near misses, or they're approaching the perfectional stage of sacrificing out of love for Krishna. That the motivation is not selfish, that it's actually we're trying to please the Lord. Whole other way of looking at things.
Different ages, there are different ways of doing. But in this age, and the yagya is more powerful than any other one and more quickly effective, just chanting the holy name. And if people chant the holy name, they'll automatically, give up their sinful activities, even if you don't tell them to. If they chant enough. All right, anyone else? I don't know anybody else that's there.
Srila Prabhupada is smiling upon you with a big smile, Maharaj.
I hope so.
I'm sure.
Well, Prabhupada is very loving and kind to everybody. So that was the thing that everybody remembers. When you listen to people remembering Prabhupada, when they come down to what the most impressed them was Prabhupada's kindness and Prabhupada's loving, openness to everybody and lack of any kind of prejudices and, just love. That's what everybody, not power, not wisdom, although he was the most wisest and that, comes up, but when it's down to the real essence, what was it that really brought them to Prabhupada? It was his kindness and his love for everybody. And that's what made this whole movement happen. And that's what we need to represent, doing it for the pleasure of Krishna, not concerned for it. But then, somebody was telling me they were reading the other day that, in the Rasa dance and Radharani gets so much pleasure, but the gopis get more. All the, the gopis that are assisting and arranging everything for Radha and Krishna, they get more pleasure than Radharani, because Radharani blesses them. Radharani, is so great. And Prabhupada mentions it so many times, thanking all the devotees who are helping him to spread this movement. He's so grateful. And that his guru sent everybody, and that, now he's sending so many people to join us and take it up, and just let's, think big and start small, do whatever you can, but think big, and not small things grow. All right, so the time is up, and I want to thank everybody very much. I hope I can come back again sometime. Gaur Nityananda, Hare Hare Bol. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And I'd really like to come out to your thing, Hare.
It's Krishna's thing. It's not mine, but you're welcome.
Yeah, just
Well, glory to Prabhupada.
timing and all that. All right.
Sure.
Thank you, Maharaj. Wonderful class. Thank you for including the audience in the class. And thank you everyone for contributing to class. Thanks for coming on. We'll see you tomorrow. Another day in Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna.
Thank you all very much. Gauranga. I'll have to leave.